Scroll through YouTube or TikTok today and you might remember a time when creators felt like your peers. Not polished, not aspirational, not perfect, just human. Sweatpants, messy apartments, stories about anxiety, awkward dates, or endless student debt. For a while, that felt enough to build a career online. But eventually, it stopped working. Views softened, comment sections cooled, and creators who once thrived on being just like you quietly faded from the spotlight. I'm the Fit Historian, and here on Historically Gaming, we explore why cultural phenomena rise, fall, and transform from games to internet trends. Today, we're looking at the rise and fall of the relatable creator. This isn't a story about one person. It's about a pattern, how authenticity became a product, parasocial relationships became obligations, and why audiences eventually outgrew the act of being just normal. To understand the decline, we need to go back to when relatability wasn't a brand, it was a byproduct. In the mid-2000s to early 2010s, YouTube was more like a public diary than a media company. Most creators filmed in bedrooms because that's where their computers were. Lighting was bad, cameras were cheap, editing was minimal. Everyone was figuring things out together. Creators weren't aspirational figures, they were peers. Vloggers talked about school, part-time jobs, family drama, and creative insecurity. Gaming channels streamed from cramped rooms. Beauty creators filmed with drugstore makeup and natural lighting. Vulnerability wasn't a tactic. It was just life. Parasocial relationships existed, but they were small, mostly unconscious, and low stakes. Audiences connected to creators, but there was no language yet around influence, emotional labor, or expectation. Subscriber counts were modest, comment sections conversational, and success didn't radically change anyone's material reality. Saying I'm just a normal person was usually true. Relatability was not a brand promise. It was the condition of the medium. Everything changed though once monetization entered the picture. AdSense rewarded attention, not just creative expression. Suddenly, social popularity became economic success. The moment money entered the equation, behavior followed. Creators noticed what worked. Emotional stories held attention. Vulnerability increased engagement. Sharing struggles wasn't just authentic, it was profitable. At the same time, brands wanted access to trust rather than aspiration. Audiences rewarded proximity. Relatability became currency. Algorithms reinforced this. Emotional transparency kept people watching longer. Confessions beat polish. Casual honesty performed better than perfection. A feedback loop emerged. Share more, get rewarded, repeat. What began as self-expression became filtered through performance metrics. By the mid-2010s, vulnerability was no longer incidental. It was packaged, curated, and strategic. Creators framed struggle as narrative, even as their circumstances improved. Platforms profited from every step, and audiences were none the wiser. By the late 2010s, Relatable Creator had a recognizable style. Soft lighting, messy background, confessional tone. Videos referenced burnout, imposter syndrome, and feeling behind in life. Achievements had to be paired with guilt. Privilege was backgrounded. Wealth was simultaneously present and downplayed. Fame was denied because influencer implied calculation, and relatable implied sincerity. Over time, this became a widely understood playbook. Not written anywhere, but followed by many. The goal was simple: appear struggling while maintaining access to opportunity and financial stability. Parasocial relationships are the invisible engine behind all of this. One-sided emotional bonds are not new. They've existed in radio, TV, and celebrity culture for decades, but the internet intensified them. YouTube, Instagram, TikTok collapsed distance. Creators spoke directly to audiences, responded in comments, and shared intimate details. The relationship felt reciprocal, even when it wasn't. Monetization escalated this. Openness increased engagement, and audiences invested emotionally. The more relatable a creator seemed, the more access viewers expected. The more access viewers expected, the harder it became for creators to evolve without backlash. Parasocial escalation is a trap. It rewards openness but punishes change. Relatability works only when it's believable. Over time, many creators grew materially, but their branding stayed the same. They framed themselves as struggling under conditions they had mostly escaped. Burnout was still performative, anxiety still foregrounded, while financial stability, support, or safety nets remained invisible. And audiences noticed. Emotional patterns became predictable. The performance of struggle required constant maintenance. Anger was risky, confidence suspicious, satisfaction felt like arrogance. What was once vulnerability began to feel curated, selective, and eventually hollow. Trust eroded not because creators became bad people, but because the emotional contract the brand relied on no longer aligned with reality. Audiences changed too. Early viewers became adults navigating rent, debt, unstable job markets, and rising living costs. Complaints about being tired or creatively blocked no longer resonated the same way. Audiences became more perceptive. Sponsorships and brand partnerships were recognized. Privilege acknowledgement became a trust signal. The implicit contract shifted from shared experience to honesty about difference. Viewers wanted creators to grow without pretending they hadn't, to be transparent about the gap between lives, and to respect emotional boundaries. Parasocial relationships matured. Distance replaced proximity. Engagement required substance rather than mirroring. The decline of relatable creators was rarely dramatic. Views didn't crash overnight, comments faded, engagement thinned, familiarity disappeared. Algorithms favor momentum over loyalty. A brand built on emotional mirroring has little to fall back on once attention softens. Many creators doubled down. More confessions, more vulnerability, more explanations. Often this accelerated the problem. Audiences who disengaged wanted distance, not deeper access. Sporadic uploads, unexplained shifts, extended hiatuses. Eventually, creators simply faded from cultural conversation. The fall was quiet, not punitive. The internet just outgrew them. Relatability didn't vanish. It just transformed. Audiences began valuing expertise, transparency, and clarity. Creators who explained how platforms work, acknowledged privilege, and offered knowledge or context began to outperform those relying on emotional mirroring. Honesty about distance replaced faux vulnerability. Being real no longer meant pretending growth didn't happen. It meant accounting for it. Value overtook validation. Transparency replaced performance. Emotional intimacy became sustainable only when paired with accountability. The internet didn't stop rewarding authenticity, it stopped rewarding the costume of it. The rise and quiet fall of the relatable creator is a story about systemic change, not individual failure. Brands built on sameness cannot survive growth. Careers built on proximity cannot withstand distance. Parasocial relationships rewarded honesty, but they punished selective transparency. Audiences are not cruel. They're perceptive. They learn to recognize performance, to feel when vulnerability stopped being shared and started being sold. The internet rewards real, but real is dynamic. Growth is inevitable, and distance is unavoidable. For creators, the takeaway is clear. You can't be just like everyone else forever. For audiences, it's a reminder that the internet constantly recalibrates trust, and that the fall of a creator is often less about scandal and more about patterns, perception, and the natural evolution of attention. Thank you so much for joining me. If you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!